Okay. Quick review of SOHCAHTOA. I write SOHCAHTOA like this. Not sure if that's how most people write. A lot of people just write SOHCAHTOA. Okay, it doesn't matter. So SOHCAHTOA, all that means opposite. O is for opposite, H is for hypotenuse, A is for adjacent. So if you're at a certain angle in a triangle, a right triangle, the adjacent side is the side next to you, and opposite side, the far side, is opposite of you, and hypotenuse is obviously always the longest side. Any questions on what I'm talking about when I say hypotenuse, opposite, or adjacent? So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. Any questions on those? Again, I like to write it like this. Helps me remember how to divide. Questions? So let us look at some triangles. First period, this didn't go so well, so I changed it. Second period went much better. We're going to copy what we did in second period. I'm going to go ahead and give you these values. This value is 1/2. This value is square root of 3 divided by 2. Over here, this side is square root of 2 divided by 2. Because this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle, these two legs are congruent, so they are both square root of 2 over 2. So which one's bigger, square root of 3 over 2 or 1/2?
Square root of 3 over 2.
How do you know?
It's across the largest angle, except 90.
Right, so that would be the largest one. So Xavier's recalling something from geometry that not a lot of people remember. In a triangle, 30 degrees is the smallest angle, so that means 1/2 is the smallest side. 60 degrees is the middle angle, so square root of 3 over 2 is the middle side. And 90 degrees over here is the largest angle, so that makes 1 the largest side. We should know that the hypotenuse is the largest side. But to give you an idea of how big square root of 3 over 2 is, here's the decimal approximation. It's 0.866. And 1/2 is 0.5. That's exact. Which do you think is bigger, 1/2 or square root of 2 over 2?
Square root of 2 over 2.
How do you know?
It's 45 degrees is bigger.
40. Well, okay, it's going to be hard to say whether that's bigger. To compare these two, so that's not a good comparison. But square root of 2 over 2 is approximately 0.707. So I'm giving those approximate values only so that you understand how large they are in comparison to each other. But we need to memorize these numbers, these exact numbers. Square root of 2 over 2 and square root of 3 over 2. Any questions? So we're going to use those values, 30, 60, 90, 45, 45, 90, to find key trig values. So these are common values that we are going to memorize and be able to recall faster than our multiplication table. So looking at 30 degrees, sine would be opposite over hypotenuse, which would give me 30 degrees. Opposite is 1/2. I pretty sure I just told you to use these values. So 1/2 over 1, which is 1/2. Any questions? Usually this first one's a little confusing. So cosine of 30 would be adjacent over hypotenuse, which would be that's the adjacent side, divided by hypotenuse, which is 1, which, so it's just square root of 3 over 2. Okay. Sine of 60. So now I'm looking at this angle. Adjacent and opposite have flipped. I'm still looking at opposite over hypotenuse for SOHCAHTOA. Opposite inside is now square root of 3 over 2. Opposite side. Over hypotenuse is still 1. Reduces to square root of 3 over 2. What about cosine of 60? So Carlos said 1/2. Why do you think 1/2? Alright, it's just going to be the opposite side. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, which is, in this case, adjacent is 1/2. So 1/2 over 1, so it's 1/2. And then sine of 45, opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite side is, well, they're both 45, and their opposites are the same, so opposites square root of 2 over 2 over 1 again, which is just square root of 2 over 2. And I'm not going to do the math over here. Cosine of 45 should be the same. Okay, any questions? So right now, we've identified some key values. Sine of 30 is always 1/2. Cosine of 30 is always square root of 3 over 2. Sine of 60 always square root of 3 over 2. Cosine of 60 always 1/2. Sine of 45, cosine of 45 are equal to each other. Any questions so far? These are very key values. Yes?
On the mode, will we use radian or degree?
Well, we would be in degrees because these triangles are labeled degrees. You can think of them in radians, but when you're dealing with triangles, you generally think degrees. But you have to look at each problem individually. So let's do the tangents. How do I find tangent of 30? So over A, opposite over adjacent. Now we're going to have to deal with both of these. So the opposite of 30 degrees is 1/2. Adjacent of 30 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. So the question is, how do I deal with 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2? Fraction divided by fraction. Nightmares of middle school. Xavier, you gotta...
Oh, you flip the second one and then you multiply.
Right, so 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2 is the same thing as 1/2 times multiplied by the reciprocal 2 over square root of 3. That's a proper way to divide fractions. Any questions on that? Okay, so 2 and 2 cancel out. I'm left with, what am I left with? 1 over square root of 3. Which takes us back to our days in Algebra 2. Ms. Miller hates radicals in the denominator. Nice. That was Jenna Flores, by the way. You're going to be on YouTube's, Jenna. Okay, so the denominator becomes 3. That's the whole purpose of multiplying by square root of 3. And the numerator stays square root of 3 over 3. Any questions on that? Tangent of 60 is going to be exactly reverse of this. So instead of 1/2 divided by square root of 3 over 2, it's going to be square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. And if we all paid attention to Xavier, we would know it would be square root of 3 over 2 times what? 2 over 1, reciprocal of the denominator. These cancel out, so you're just left with square root of 3. Questions on that? Tangent of 45 is the hardest problem ever, most difficult problem. You might get a Nobel Prize if you figure it out. How'd you get one? They are the same, so when you do opposite over adjacent, you end up you end up getting square root of 2 over 2 divided by square root of 2 over 2. Something divided by something is 1. Nobel Prize goes to you guys. Smallest to largest values. If I had to line these up, smallest to largest, what would be the smallest number? 1/2. So now the question is, which one's bigger? Square root of 3 over 2, which I told you was 0.866, or this?
I think it's square root of 2. And then square root of 3. And then 1.
You guys are flipping your papers like, it's not below my table. There's no way for me to write this down. It's impossible. I quit. And there's a larger number. 1. We already did square root of 3 over 2. Oh yeah, square root of 3. What is that? That's not as important as these 3. Okay, so any questions on this? What I'm doing is I'm building these triangles. We now have these triangles, which are super helpful for understanding the unit circle. In a little bit, we should be able to generate this entire guy, the unit circle.